I am not a happy camper. Camping ranks up there with a family funeral, an IRS tax audit, and a root canal. I'm a city slicker and prefer the concrete jungle. I grew up in Metro Detroit, the fifth of 6 children. My father worked at the Ford Motor Company, and my mother stayed at home, refereeing family fights. In Detroit, we have a name for people who sleep outside on the ground: homeless. My siblings were in Scouts and enjoyed going to troop meetings, selling cookies, and heading off into the thick woods. I preferred an indoor tent made of crisply ironed sheets and laying on the couch cushions in my living room. I would hide in the dark with my books, grab a flashlight, and enter into a world of make-believe. My mom misinterpreted my desire to escape reality for a desire to camp and signed me up for Cub Scouts. When I discovered that spending a cold night lying in the dirt was on the horizon, I threw a fit and quit, earning my first ever bitchin' moan marriage badge. The summer after freshman year in college, I flexed my newfound independence. For once I didn't ask, but I announced that I soon would be heading off into the woods to work at a summer camp for the disabled. My mom looked bewildered. My dad actually gasped. Their shock wasn't about working with the disadvantaged. I spent my high school summers in cool air conditioning, in nursing homes, and at the Easter Seal Society. I was going to college for a degree in speech and hearing disorders. Working at summer camp would provide invaluable hands-on experience. But to my parents, I was the Titanic. Camping was the iceberg, and disaster was straight ahead. A month later, I drove across Michigan and arrived to the crisp scent of pine trees, a vibrant blue sky, and deafening silence. My gloomy cabin was hidden beneath dark overgrowth. I was relieved when I saw a still functioning rust-stained toilet and sink. The cabin reeked of mildew, so I opened up the window and sprayed a 4th bottle of my obsession cologne. At 5 p.m., I put on my lime green Izod, chinos, and deck shoes and joined the other counselors for training. Looking around at the crowd full of concert t-shirts, torn jeans, and flip-flops, I realized I drastically overdressed. The head counselor organized us in a circle. I grew concerned when he grabbed a wheelchair and brought out piles of rope, duct tape, and bags of clothes. It looked like the set for a gory horror movie. What happened was equally as frightening. One at a time, we had Vaseline smeared on our eyeglasses, earplugs inserted, our legs bound, pebbles placed in our shoes, and marbles shoved in our mouths. I was given a series of normal daily tasks to complete in a race against the clock. It was humbling to struggle to the point of tears while trying to button your shirt button or to tie the laces of your shoes. I learned about disabilities with my arm literally tied behind my back. The rest of the training week, I ate overcooked food and was brainwashed to the lyrics of "Do your ears hang low, do they wobble to and fro?" and "John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt." I suffered through my first lukewarm shower in the gray cinder block building that the entire camp shared. I'm certain that convicted felons fared better. Being from Michigan, I knew the mosquitoes would be large enough to carry me off, but I didn't anticipate the enormous slithering rat snakes. The camp maintenance man would ride around in his beat-up golf cart with a shovel and decapitate them in a demented game of polo. Multi-handicapped campers arrived for 2-week stints throughout the summer months. I was anxious when my first group of teenagers arrived. Their disabilities ranged from epilepsy, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, and muscular dystrophy. While some of these 8 campers shared my nerves, a boy named Billy was beaming. Billy had advanced muscular dystrophy. He was still able to speak and move his hands, but little else. He was a bright kid and a bit of a smartass, giggling as he ran me over with his electric wheelchair. I became Billy's muscles for eating, showering, getting dressed, and moving. I needed to step up my game now that I had someone completely dependent upon me for his survival. I was doing well in the safety of the cabin, but my confidence was shaken when I learned that I was required to take my 8 campers out into the woods to sleep overnight. How could I get out of this? I thought of luring a rat snake to bite me. or stripping naked and rolling around in poison ivy. A comfortable night recuperating in the nurse's cabin was within reach, but I decided to march forward. These young campers were eager to go, and to go they needed me. Soon D-Day arrived. The air was thick with humidity, and the dark sky was ominous. Thankfully, the rustic campsite is set up, but from there, I was on my own. I pushed the excited campers one at a time into the dark woods and up the uneven dirt path. A large green army tent appeared in the distance, the flaps pulled open, waiting to swallow me whole. A cooler with our food rations was tucked inside. I tore the top off, hoping to find filet mignon. But I made do with powdered Kool-Aid and beans and franks. I'm somewhat of a pyromaniac, so starting the roaring fire was the highlight of my day. While stirring the pan of beans and franks, I hoped the teenage boy's gas would help keep the mosquitoes at bay. After several renditions of Do Your Ears Hang Low, I transferred the boys from the wheelchairs to their sleeping bags that lined the floor. They spent the next hour giggling and farting. Then the tent felt silent. In the woods, there was a snap here, a rustle there, and I pulled my sleeping bag over the head, expecting the slicing sound of a machete from Jason in Friday the 13th. Then I heard someone call my name. It was Billy. I have to go to the bathroom, he declared. Number one or number two, I asked, praying for number one. I have to pee. I was exhausted, but I lifted him into his chair and wheeled him out into the spooky moonlight. I looked around for an option. Billy, you're gonna go on this tree. A devilish smile spread across his face. A moonbeam filtered through the pine trees, illuminating his target. Back at the tent, he smiled and said, "Thanks, dude." The following Saturday, droves of well-rested parents arrived to pick up their campers. Billy's mom gave him a big hug. I heard her ask, "What's the best part of camp?" Billy blurted out, "I peed in the woods." She laughed. Of everything that happened over 14 days, that one moment meant the most to him. Looking over at the boisterous sea of happy campers, I realized that many, like Billy, would not live long enough to return the next year. They knew every moment in life was precious and accepted it as it was. It was just by a simple genetic twist of fate that I was the camp counselor and not the camper. That day, I relinquished my bitch and moan merit badge. Over the following weeks, I embraced how truly fortunate I was not to be dependent on others. I learned to tough it out when things got ugly and to push myself beyond what I thought I was capable of. I completed my degree and then pursued my master's in management. I trained for a year and competed in the Chicago Marathon. I became a parent and raised 3 rowdy sons. While my camp experience was emotionally and physically draining, I learned that in life many things are, and they're worth the price. Almost 30 years later, I still cringe as I drive past roadside campgrounds, and I roll my eyes when I see vehicles busting at the seams full of screaming children. The camping life is not for me, but it serves as a reminder that no matter how bad things get during my short time on Earth, I need to focus on the little things, like being able to stand outside and pee in the moonlight.